The Crash in the Valley, HFY Sci-Fi, Simple English, Third Person. Rian lived alone near the edge of a deep forest valley. He was a young mechanic, quiet, smart, and good with machines. His small home was built with metal scraps, old parts, and solar panels. It wasn't pretty, but everything worked because Rian fixed it himself. One night, while Rian worked on an old generator, he heard a strange sound from the sky. It wasn't thunder. It was louder, like something tearing through the air. Then came the crash. The sound shook the valley. Birds flew out of trees. The ground rumbled. And then silence. Rian stepped outside. Smoke rose in the distance. A red-orange glow flickered between the trees. His heart beat faster. That wasn't a meteor, he whispered. He grabbed his flashlight, a toolkit, and his old energy pistol. It hadn't worked in years, but holding it made him feel safer. Rian followed the smoke trail into the dark forest. The trees were tall, and the air was cold. After nearly 20 minutes of hiking, he found something that made him stop cold. There, in a clearing, lay a crashed ship. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Smooth silver metal, glowing blue lines, and parts that floated slightly above the surface. The crash had torn a trench into the earth. Steam hissed from broken vents. Cautiously, Rian walked closer. The ship had no flag, no number, no human sign. It was definitely alien. As he reached the ship's side, he heard a soft sound, like a cry. Inside a cracked doorway, slumped against the wall, was an alien girl. She looked hurt. Her arm was bleeding, and her breathing was weak. Her skin was pale silver. Her eyes were closed. She had long, white hair that shimmered like moonlight. She was wearing a strange suit, part armor, part fabric, but torn in many places. She opened her eyes slightly when he stepped forward. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then she whispered something in a language she couldn't understand. Rian lowered his voice. "I won't hurt you." She blinked slowly, then reached out with a trembling hand and passed out. Rian knew he couldn't leave her there. The forest was full of wild animals, and she wouldn't survive the night. Carefully, he lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, like her bones were made of something different. He looked back at the ship. It was badly damaged, too much to fix here. He would need tools, parts, time. He whispered to her, even though she couldn't hear him. "I'll come back for your ship, but let's get you safe first." Back in his workshop, Rian laid her down on a clean table and covered her with a warm blanket. He carefully cleaned the wound on her arm. Her blood wasn't red, it was light blue, almost glowing. He had so many questions. Where was she from? Why did she crash here? Was someone chasing her? And the biggest question of all, was she alone? That night, as Rian sat beside her, he couldn't sleep. He watched her chest rise and fall slowly. Her face looked peaceful now, but there was a deep sadness in her expression, even unconscious. Suddenly, outside the window, a branch cracked. Rian stood up quickly. He turned off the lamp and grabbed his scanner. Nothing on the radar. No animals. No drones. But deep in the woods, a pair of red eyes flickered for a second and vanished. Rian locked the doors. Something had followed her. The next morning, sunlight broke through the clouds. The alien girl was still asleep, but her breathing was stronger. Rian left a cup of water beside her and returned to the valley. Alone, he needed to check the ship. Back at the crash site, things were even worse than he remembered. The ship's core was exposed. The wings were torn. But one thing stood out. Strange symbols had appeared overnight, glowing softly on the hull, like writing. He touched them. The lights shifted. A small panel opened, revealing a floating orb. Inside, a hologram appeared. It showed stars, a planet, and a royal crest, something like a crown. Rian realized something important. She wasn't just any alien. She was someone important, and someone dangerous might be looking for her. Rian looked up at the sky. It was too quiet. He whispered, "What did I just get myself into?" But deep inside, something told him this girl had crashed here for a reason. And whatever came next, he couldn't let her face it alone. The hidden message, HFY sci-fi, third person, simple English, approximately 800 words. The alien girl didn't wake up the next morning, but her breathing was steady now. Rian checked her wounds again. He had cleaned them the best he could. The strange glowing blood had stopped flowing. Her body was healing fast, much faster than a human body ever could. He sat beside her, watching her face. She looked peaceful now, but behind those closed eyes, he knew a storm was waiting. Later that day, Rian returned to the crash site. He had brought tools, wires, a solar scanner, and a small hovercart. He had one goal: to figure out what the glowing orb inside the ship meant. The ship was still there, quiet and cold. No movement. No signs of other aliens. But when Rian stepped inside, something had changed. The floating orb was now active. It hovered mid-air, spinning slowly. Lights pulsed inside it, blue, violet, and silver. As he stepped closer, it scanned him. A soft hum echoed through the wreck. Then, a hologram appeared in front of him. A woman's voice spoke in an alien language, calm but urgent. Rian didn't understand the words, but the images said enough. He saw a planet burning, ships flying, creatures screaming. Then a star map. A red line traced a long path across galaxies. At the end of the line was Earth. Then came the final image. The alien girl, standing in a circle of armored beings, holding the orb in her hand. Then the message ended. The orb dimmed. Back at the workshop. Night had fallen again. Rian placed the orb on the table and sat down, trying to make sense of what he saw. That's when he heard a soft sound behind him. He turned. She was awake. The alien girl sat up slowly, her eyes searching the room. When she saw him, she looked confused, then relieved. "You're safe," Rian said gently. She tilted her head, not understanding. But when she saw the orb, she stood weakly and touched it. The orb glowed brighter. Then she looked at Rian and did something unexpected. She placed her hand on his chest, right above his heart, and smiled. Over the next few days, things changed between them. They still couldn't speak the same language, but they started to understand each other. She showed him her name by writing it with light from the orb. Vena. He showed her his name with a chalkboard. Rian. She laughed softly when she read it. Her voice was musical, like soft wind chimes. They created a system, gestures, drawings, and simple sounds. Rian would point at the stars in the sky, and she would draw shapes on the floor maps of places beyond imagination. Each night, she stared at the same cluster of stars from his rooftop. Each night, her eyes grew sadder. One night, she tapped the orb again. This time, she brought up a map of 3 planets. She pointed at the middle one. Then she pointed at herself, and her eyes welled with tears. Rian understood. Her home was gone. Next morning, she gave him something. It looked like a bracelet, but it wasn't metal. It was alive. A soft, pulsing band that wrapped itself gently around his wrist. When it touched his skin, a flash of memories hit him. Not his memories. Hers. He saw a castle made of starlight. A giant room full of alien leaders. He saw Vena standing, alone while others turned their backs. He felt her pain, her fear, her courage. When Rian opened his eyes, she was looking at him nervous. "You gave me your memory?" He whispered. She nodded once. He didn't need more words. She wasn't just a visitor. She was a fugitive, a princess, and someone out there wanted her gone. That night, the warning came. While Rian was in the workshop, repairing a part of her ship, the orb pulsed rapidly red this time. Vena ran to him, pointing at the sky. She drew a shape in the dust, a triangle, with claws. Then she pointed down. They're here? Rian asked. She nodded. Above the clouds, somewhere, something had entered Earth's orbit, and it was hunting her. A gift of trust, HFY sci-fi. Third person, simple English, approximately 800 words. Rian couldn't sleep that night. Not after what Vena had shown him. The red alert from the orb still echoed in his mind. Someone or something had entered Earth's orbit, and it wasn't friendly. Vena had drawn the symbol with shaking hands, a triangle with claws. Rian didn't know what it meant, but her eyes told him everything. Fear. Not for herself, but for him. Still, she didn't run. She stayed in his home. And the next morning, when he woke up, he found her sitting outside, quietly staring at the rising sun. For the first time, she looked calm. Rian brought her food, some warm root, stew and fruit. Vena smiled and touched her heart, a gesture of thanks they both now understood. After they ate, she stood up and reached inside the remains of her torn suit. From a hidden pocket, she pulled out something small wrapped in soft metallic cloth, walked toward Rian slowly, and placed it in his hand. It was a crystal, no bigger than a stone, but it shimmered with colors he had never seen before: deep blues, soft greens, and glowing silver. When he touched it, it pulsed gently with heat. Before he could speak, she pressed her fingers gently on his forehead. In that moment, a vision flooded his mind. He saw a massive city floating in the sky, built with rings of light and energy. He saw Vena standing in a crowd, wearing royal armor, speaking in front of a tall alien council. Then, a betrayal, a blade, through someone's back. Vena running, ships chasing her. Her escape route lighting up Earth, marked as the final point. And then, darkness. The vision faded. Rian opened his eyes, shaking. That was real? Vena simply nodded. He looked at the crystal in his hand. What is this? She picked up a metal pipe from his table and gently tapped it against the crystal. In a flash of light, the pipe repaired itself, shiny whole, like new. Rian's eyes widened. It heals machines? She nodded again, then pointed at his chest. His voice grew soft. You want me to fix your ship with this? She pointed again, first at the ship, then at herself, then at him. Not just the ship. Anything. Over the next 2 days, Rian worked harder than ever before. With the help of the crystal, he was able to restore part of her ship's power core. Energy flowed again. The lights inside flickered to life. Vena watched silently, sometimes helping him hold a panel or translate a strange wire system. She still didn't speak his language, but now they didn't need words. Their hands moved together. Their eyes met often, and something unspoken passed between them each time. Trust. One night, while working on the outer shield system, Rian paused and looked up at the stars. They're coming, aren't they? Vena stood beside him. She didn't answer, but she reached into her armor again and pulled out another object. It was a small disc, flat, glowing with tiny holes. She placed it in his hand. It hummed and lit up in golden color. Then it attached itself to his arm, forming a thin metallic shield. Rian looked at her. You're giving me your tech? Vena nodded, serious now. She tapped the shield gently, then his chest. Protect. Her first word in English. Rian froze. He looked at her again, truly seeing the weight in her eyes. She wasn't just giving him protection. She was giving him a role, a purpose. She didn't trust her own people anymore. but she trusted him. That night, as they rested inside the ship's half-repaired cockpit, Rian looked at her and whispered, "You gave me something worth more than the stars." Vena looked back, and for the first time, she smiled fully. But outside, in the shadows of the forest, the hunters had arrived, and they were watching. The attack under moonlight, HFY sci-fi, third person, simple English, 800 words, night had fallen again. But this time, something felt different. The air outside was too quiet. No wind, no birds. Even the forest creatures had gone still. Rian stood near the ship, watching the tree line with sharp eyes. Vena was inside, adjusting the navigation system. The ship's core was back online only halfway, but enough to light up its systems. That made Rian nervous. Light attracts eyes. And they both knew something dangerous was already watching Dot suddenly. His wrist shield lit up. A warning. A soft red glow spread across the device. Then the orb inside the ship pulsed like a heartbeat, but fast. Rian rushed inside. "They're here, aren't they?" Vena was already moving. She tapped on a glowing panel, and a small screen showed a ship landing nearby. Just past the ridge. It was sleek, black, no lights, no sound. It didn't crash. It landed perfectly. She turned to Rian and raised her hand. 3 fingers. 3 enemies. Rian ran to the tool cabinet and grabbed a wrench, a plasma torch, and his father's old laser pistol, now fixed with Vena's crystal tech. He strapped on the arm shield, which immediately expanded to protect his forearm. Vena held out a thin black rod. She pressed a button, and it opened into a glowing blue spear. She was ready to fight, but she looked at Rian, and her face said more than words, "Don't die." Moments later, the first attacker arrived. He dropped from the trees like a shadow. His body was covered in flexible black armor. His face was hidden behind a mask that had glowing red slits for eyes. Long, sharp claws extended from his gloves. Didn't speak. He just ran at Rian. Rian blocked with the shield, and the claws bounced off in a shower of sparks. The hunter growled. Rian fought back with the torch, swinging hard. He wasn't a soldier, but years of working with machines had made his arms strong and fast. Then the second hunter appeared, and this one was bigger. Vena moved like lightning. She spun her spear, flipping over one hunter, striking his shoulder. A loud metallic crack echoed. He stumbled back, shocked. Rian stood beside her now. "Back to back. This isn't your first fight," he said. She gave him a short nod, breathing heavy. Her eyes glowed in the moonlight. No fear, only fire. The hunters regrouped. 2 now. The third one still hadn't appeared. Suddenly, crack. A blast hit the ship's side. A plasma shot. It burned part of the outer wall. The third one had a sniper. Rian turned fast. "They're trying to destroy the ship." Vena threw him a silver cube. It unfolded into a small floating shield drone, protecting the ship's engine. The drone hovered and shimmered, absorbing the next blast. The hunters growled in frustration and charged again. This time, they fought with more fury. Claws clashed with metal. Sparks flew. The air burned with heat and energy. Rian ducked, rolled, and swung his tools like weapons. He wasn't trained, but he fought like a human who had something to protect. Because he did. He was protecting her. One hunter landed a blow on Rian's side. The claws ripped through his jacket, cutting deep. He gasped, but didn't fall. Vena screamed in her language and leapt at the attacker, slamming him to the ground with both feet. She stabbed her spear into the hunter's side, and the armor cracked. The hunter vanished in a flash of blue light, teleported away. Badly wounded, not dead, the second one ran back, grabbed the injured one, and teleported too. Now only one remained. Sniper, and he was aiming at Vena. Rian didn't think. He charged forward. The sniper fired. Rian jumped in the way. The blast hit his shield and sent him flying. He landed hard. His chest burned, but he was alive. The shield was broken, but it had done its job. Vena stood over him. She looked at the last attacker, and something inside her unlocked. She spoke a word in her language, one that echoed in the air. The orb inside the ship burst into light. Wings of energy formed behind her. A symbol appeared on her forehead. The sniper froze, and then teleported away. The fight was over. Rian lay on the ground, gasping. Vena knelt beside him, placing both hands on his chest. Warm light spread through him. His wound slowly closed. He looked into her eyes. You saved. She shook her head gently. No, she whispered. You saved me first. The Last Stand Together. HFY Sci-Fi. Third person. Simple English. Approximately 800 words. The forest was quiet again. The hunters were gone for now. But Rian knew the silence wouldn't last. They had failed their mission. They would return. And next time, they would bring more. Vena helped Rian inside the half-repaired ship. His wounds had healed, but he was still weak. The shield was destroyed. The arm device had burned out, but he was alive. And now, he was no longer just a mechanic. Inside the ship. Vena pressed her hand to a small panel. A hidden chamber opened. Inside it was something wrapped in silver cloth, glowing from within. She looked at Rian, then gently handed it to him. What's this? He asked. She didn't speak, just touched her chest and his. Rian unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a piece of armor. Not bulky, not heavy, sleek, dark, and warm to the touch. It pulsed faintly, like it was alive. Vena helped him wear it. As soon as it touched his skin, it adjusted to fit him perfectly. Small lights ran along the edges. The helmet formed around his head like liquid metal. Then he heard a voice. Neural sync, complete. It was the armor. Speaking English. Rian's eyes widened. I can understand it. Vena smiled softly. This wasn't just alien tech. It was royal tech. And she had given it to him. That night, the stars above flickered oddly. The orb inside the ship flared red again. Rian stepped outside. The new armor felt light as air, but strong like nothing on Earth. He looked up. 3 ships appeared in the sky. Black, sharp, and fast. The final wave had come. Vena joined him, her spear glowing brighter than before. He looked at her. We fight together. She nodded. This time. She didn't look afraid. This time, she looked ready. The enemy ships landed hard, shaking the valley. Trees cracked, ground split, and from the smoke, 6 armored hunters stepped out, each one bigger, stronger, and faster than the ones before. One of them held a glowing chain. Another had a twin blade that hissed with red fire. The leader wore a crown of metal spikes. They weren't here to capture. They were here to end it. Rian's armor lit up. The voice in his head whispered, hostile signal locked. Engage or retreat. He whispered back, engage. And then he charged. Vena followed him, her energy spear flashing through the night. The battle was fierce. Plasma lit up the trees. Sparks flew. Armor clashed. Rian moved faster than he ever had, dodging, striking, blocking. The suit boosted his strength, reading his thoughts before he moved. But the enemy was powerful. One hunter threw him across the field. Another nearly broke his arm. But Rian stood up again. Every time. Because Vena was still fighting. And he refused to fall before she did. At one point, Vena was surrounded. 3 enemies came at her at once. Rian saw it too far away to reach her. But then, something inside the suit unlocked. Overdrive mode active. His body surged with energy. He ran faster than any human could. In seconds, he was beside her. He took the hit meant for her again. The armor held. He struck back hard, and one enemy fell. Vena spun, her spear slicing two attackers at once. Now, only the leader remained. He stepped forward, lifting his burning blade. "You are unworthy," he growled in Rian's mind. Through the suit's translation, Rian stared him down. "She is worth more than your empire," he said calmly. Then the leader charged. The final duel was brutal. Blades clashing, sparks flying. The valley burned. But Rian didn't fight alone. Vena fought beside him, her strength, her power, and her trust flowing between them like fire. And finally, as the leader raised his sword for the killing blow, Rian and Vena struck together. Punch, her spear. One heart, one force. One final hit. The leader fell, groaning in pain. And then teleported away, defeated. Silence. Smoke. Burned trees. A cracked sky above. But they were still standing. Rian looked at her, breathing hard. "It's over." She stepped forward, touched his helmet. And whispered, "Now you come with me." Worth the Stars, HFY Sci-Fi, third person, simple English. 800 words. The valley was quiet now. The enemy ships were gone. The hunters had failed. The ground was still smoking, and pieces of metal armor lay scattered like forgotten bones. Rian stood beside Vena, breathing slowly. His alien armor was cracked, burned, but it had protected him just enough. Vena lowered her glowing spear. Her face was calm again, but her eyes held something new. Peace. For the first time since she crashed. She felt safe, and it was because of him. Back inside the ship, Rian patched the remaining systems. The engines worked. The navigation returned. The ship was ready to fly. Vena sat beside him in the control room. She pressed a few buttons, and a small image hovered in the air. A star map. One bright point blinked at the edge of the galaxy. Her home. She looked at Rian and gently took his hand. Then she pointed at the second blinking dot. Earth. Then back at him. Then at both stars. He understood. "You want me to come with you?" She nodded. But this time, she wasn't asking him to fix anything. She was asking him to choose. Rian stepped outside the ship. He looked around. His home. The valley. The workshop. The old tools. The rusted machines. The familiar silence. He had lived here for years. Alone. Safe. Ordinary. But after Vena fell from the sky, nothing was ordinary anymore. He had seen stars. Fought monsters. Worn armor from another world. And now, he stood between what he knew and what waited beyond. He walked back into the ship. Vena was standing in the center, wearing her royal armor, now repaired and glowing. She looked strong, beautiful, alien. But when she saw him return, her smile was soft. Human. Rian nodded once. "I'm ready." As the engines started, the ground trembled. The ship rose slowly, floating above the valley trees. Outside, the stars stretched across the sky like an open road. Vena guided the ship upward. Rian stood beside her, watching the earth fade behind him. The clouds, the oceans, the forests all. Growing smaller. And ahead, the unknown. The stars didn't scare him anymore. They felt like home waiting to be claimed. Hours passed. Then the ship stopped. In open space, Vena turned toward him. She held something small in her hands, an object. Wrapped in white fabric. She handed it to him. Rian opened it slowly. It was a badge. A symbol made of crystal and light. It shimmered like her eyes. The same symbol he had seen in the vision. The crest of her people. He looked up at her. "What is this?" She stepped closer and said one word. "Mate." Rian stared at her, heart pounding. She wasn't just thanking him. She wasn't just offering a journey. She was offering a place, a bond, a life with her, among the stars. He smiled and held the symbol close to his chest. "You're serious about this?" She nodded. Then she leaned closer. "And so are you." The ship continued its path, moving beyond Earth, beyond the solar system, beyond anything human, but inside. Two hearts beat as one. The mechanic who once lived in a silent valley was gone. Now, he was something else. A protector, partner, a name written in the stars.